Hello, my name's Daniel Ferrelli. I'm one of the owners, my wife and I, Helen Ferrelli, and my daughter and her husband, Kevin and Angela. We started this winery, we formed in 04, 05 was our first crush. We're getting ready, believe it or not, for our 15th year crush. And today we're going to taste a few wines, and I have my grandson here, Daniel Eaton, and Mark Fiore, our head winemaker. So we'll start off today called Farrell. The name Farrell came from the fact that we use, Mark uses all native yeast. This wine is got a lot of acid, and the restaurants buy, I'd say 90% of this because they know how to match it with food. It's a wonderful food wine.
My favorite wine is probably the Farrell because I love the earthy tones to it and citrus. Me being younger, I don't really like to drink a big cab if I was being with my friends or something like that, and so the Farrell is definitely one of my favorites just because of how citrusy it is and like a summer feel, and yeah, definitely my favorite.
One of the top selling wines at Taylor's Shellfish in the area, at least it was before we had to not go to restaurants. Kind of funny. It's been an interesting year. Last year in the summer I went to Italy for a week, and this year I'm just hoping to go to the Olive Garden. But nice the city. It pairs great with seafood, this wine.
The next wine we're going to taste is my favorite, Lola, which is named after my granddaughter, Lola Ferrelli. I tell Mark he can do whatever he wants, but don't screw this wine up. It's definitely my favorite. It's oaked, but it's not over oaked. It was actually the highest rated Chardonnay ever in the state of Washington. It got 96 points, which is unique for a white wine to get that high.
One of the cool things too about this wine, if you've been to the winery in the past couple of years, we have these concrete tanks now that we use. So when we made this, we filled one of the big concrete tanks with the juice, but we also did 2 new 500-liter punch-ins to do the fermentation. So that kind of helps give it a little lift. It's quite fruity. Great.
Great wine. Now the next wine we're going to taste is a Syrah called Kaylee. And Kaylee, first of all, got its name from the owners. We went to Australia to check on a guy that was making some Syrahs over there, David Powell at Torbreck in Adelaide. And we went there. He showed us some of the things he was doing. We had a great trip. And we went to a restaurant and we met this wonderful little girl. She was our waitress, and her name was Kaylee. And Kaylee means Gaelic celebration. So if you're in Scotland or Ireland and somebody's asked you to go to a Kaylee, they're asking you to go to a party. This is 100% Red Mountain Syrah. It is very big. It's I call it very fruit forward.
One of the cool things about this wine that we also do at FSD is, I think in the 17 vintage, most of this came from Angela's vineyard on Red Mountain. So not only do we make the wine, but we work with Dick Boucher a lot. He's our grower, and we have 3 separate estate vineyards, which we source a lot of our fruit from.
One of the things that I've noticed, I'm proud to have a grandson here. These young kids, now he just started pouring last year, not that he hasn't tasted our wine over the years, but their palates on these young kids are so good. He was able to pick up the flavors of these wines right away, and it's interesting to see, because when you get older, it's a little bit harder. The next wine we're going to taste is our most popular wine, largest seller, priced really well, is called Final Final. And that name came from having a hard time finding the name, and when we finally did, we finally called it, okay, is this the final blend? And this is what happened with it. It's a Cab Syrah blend. I believe you're sourcing most of it is Cab, or?
Yeah, most of it's Cab and Syrah from Estate Vineyards, Columbia Valley, Yakima Valley. One of my favorite things about this wine is it's priced a lot lower, differently than some of the other wines. You know, 50 or 60 bucks is a lot to spend, and so is 33 or whatever it is now, I think. So a lot of my friends and people that don't necessarily get to buy a bottle of Big Papa get to drink this, and it's not made any differently. There's just more volume of it.
You know, one of the things too that, and Mark can elaborate on this too, but one of the things about FSD, we not only use wild yeast or feral yeast or the natural yeast, we try, because we have the best fruit in the state, we don't like to manipulate the fruit. He doesn't add, and he can elaborate on this, but we keep it very natural. Point in today's market.
Sure, yeah. I mean, one of the things that I do that's really the hardest is nothing. So,
yeah.
I mean, like you see, we do extended macerations and fermentations, and decisions are made as far as when to pick the grapes and when to press the grapes, you know, when I think they taste good. And that's, I think, working for the family here, one of the really fun parts about my job is everything's kind of done a lot by feel. But once the wine gets pressed, it goes through secondary fermentation, the red wine does, and then there's just a lot of babysitting and keeping the wines, tend to the wines, but we don't really do anything until we decide it's time to put them in bottle. Yeah. Yeah.
Now the next wine we're going to talk about is 100% Cab. It's Big Papa, and Big Papa came from the fact that my grandfather, and the story is behind me here, moved here when I was 13 years old, Italy, Chicago, and then in Seattle, and we started making wine, and the kids would call my dad Papa and my grandfather Big Papa. So we made this wine to honor him. It is a big Cab. It is very popular, full of flavors. You know, if you have them, pretty much any steakhouse is going to have this wine or something very close to it.
We use really old vines planted, most of them I think are planted in the 1970s, Columbia Valley, Bacchus, Sagemore. I think this one has the last bit of Red Willow Cab before they ripped it out, so that's kind of a cool thing, working and growing, making this wine. The older vines just kind of give you what they give you. It's really fun.
You know, one of the other wines that, now we make 17 different wines, and we're going to just talk about a few of them today, but one of the wines that we call, I call it my sneaky pour, and it's called Taylor Mag, which is one of our vineyards. It was made because the restaurants wanted something, one of our, you know, an FSD Cab, you know, something that not so expensive. Big Papa is $62 a bottle. I believe this thing retails for like $28. It's a great wine. I mean, it's delicious. We don't sell it to everybody. We sell it to restaurants and our club members. When I first tasted it, I go, wow, this thing is too good. I mean, I'm afraid it's going to knock out all the Papa business. But you could talk about it a little bit, Mark, but it's a great wine.
Taylor Mag Vineyards. So we make this wine, the Cabernet, and we have also a couple of estate wines that come from there. But there's a really silty layer of topsoil in this kind of a lower spot on Red Mountain. And it's funny, when I go there to sample the grapes, I have like dust in the crevices of my car and like in my teeth, and it's just a really dusty vineyard. So I kind of, I think that soil type really adds to the flavor and the depth characteristic to this wine as well.
The other thing we have to elaborate on is the quality of pulp we have here is part of our success. I mean, you go into and I know all of you have gone into a tasting room, and you could hardly get the person to converse with you, let alone know what's going on. So we're leaps and heads and leaps ahead of other people, and I think that's part of our success. Now all we have to do is get this thing started again, and we will. We'll get it going. So, yeah, it's been in our family a long time. Grandpa would be proud.
Nice.
Don't screw up the Lola.
That's yeah.
That is good.
Yeah, that one came out good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going off of Papa, with the family, helping out. I mean, I know I've been struggling sometimes talking to customers, and I'm in this just because Papa's my grandfather. But Ashley and Annie and Leslie have helped me out so much when I'm in a bind with some customers just grilling me on about the wine, and they have just helped out so much, and it means so much to me to have so much help around, and it makes this winery something special. Because the family is not just blood; it's everyone around here that helps, and that really is what separates FSD from everyone else, and just because our wine is better.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.